calling, I'm falling for her. She used to have the easiest shit. Good morning. Welcome back to the Financial Minute. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Let's add the back of my head. There we go. So, looks like my head's cut off. There we go. How are you guys this morning? Probably not this morning when this video is coming out. How are you guys in general? Turn signals on here. Good, glad to hear it. Well, I had somebody ask me, when should I quit my job and go full in on my side hustles? And I thought, well, that's a good question. Let's get right into that. But first, hey, you know the drill. Please give me a huge thumbs up if you can, and subscribe if you haven't already. Really does help out the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Yes, you right there. I really appreciate it when you hit that thumbs up or that thumbs down. It shows involvement, and I really appreciate it when you guys get involved. Let me know down in the comments below when you think is a good time to quit your day job and just do side hustles. This is a commonly posed question. I don't know if I have 100% of the answer. I have my opinions, of course, which you will hear. That's what you come here for, is my opinion. Like I said, this is not financial advice. Don't go quit your job just because I told you to, and then come complaining that you lost whatever or didn't go as planned, etc. But here's my 2 cents on this topic. Let's get into it. Well, for starters, there are many reasons why you should want to eventually start your own business. Just for one, the freedom. You know, there's a lot of freedom you have as a business owner. And we'll get into the negatives too. It's not all positive, not all walk in the park. I know what you're all thinking. Maybe you're not all thinking it, but there are negatives too. But for positives, the positive I would say is you have the freedom to do what you want. Now, in some ways, you do not really have freedom because you gotta hustle. It ain't gonna get itself done. You gotta do it. You're responsible. You gotta be responsible. So freedom, that's a benefit number one. Even though really you may have less free time than you do now. Even though you have all this freedom, it's going to require a lot of hustling and a lot of time, especially in the beginning. There may not be a whole lot of money in the beginning. But the accomplishment factor is another one. You are responsible, but that also means anything that goes right, you're responsible for. You know, you accomplished it, and that gives you a sense of accomplishment versus just clocking in and, you know, doing your 9 to 5. You don't really, you know, you can't really claim much accomplishment. Of course, some companies do a better job at praising you and letting you know that you accomplished something than others. Some companies don't at all, you know. There are better jobs and worse jobs. There are better bosses and not so good bosses. But no matter what, when you're the boss, you know, it's your company, you know, it's an accomplishment. You feel that accomplishment factor. So that's, I guess, benefit number 2. Benefit number 3 is, now this could be a benefit and a detractor, but we're going to go for the benefit side of it right now. The sky's the limit. You know, you have no boundaries as to how far, you know, a business can go. Now, of course, we're going to get into the other side of that here in a minute when we get to the downsides. wouldn't say downsides, but the things you got to think about before you start relying 100% on your own business to pay the bills. But the sky really is the limit. You can ask for a raise from your boss or your manager or the owner, but his job is to pay you as little as possible. That's his job is to look out for the best interest of the company, and that's going to be to pay you as little as he can get away with. Now, of course, if he's a good boss, he's going to pay you what you're worth. If you grow the company by a certain percentage, you're worth a percentage of that percentage, and he'd be crazy not to give it to you, because you'll go find another company and then probably his competitor and do the same for them. So he doesn't want you to leave, especially in today's job market. You don't want to lose good talent, so you got to pay them, justly, but not more than is required. You don't want to pay them too much either, because that money could be spent elsewhere, growing the business, etc. That's why a lot of times companies won't want to hire employees. They're going to want to hire a subcontractor, so they don't have to pay both sides of the unemployment tax. Just remember, as an employer, they may pay you set amount. Like, let's say they're paying you $20 an hour. It's costing them $30 to $40 an hour to employ you, because there's other costs that go along with employee, such as unemployment. They got to pay the unemployment tax. They got to pay the other half of the taxes. They got to pay for your desk, your computer, etc. Benefits. You might have health care benefits, unemployment benefits. That's what I meant, unemployment benefits. You might have paid time off, etc. So remember, the salary is only part of it. So if you do own a business someday, you'll understand that a little better. Okay, back to the benefits of being self-employed. Okay, so far we have first benefit being the freedom to kind of, do what you want. Second benefit being the sky's the limit. Third benefit, I would say, is, this kind of goes along with freedom, but the ability to, especially if you're a family person, be more involved in your family. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, but you're the one that makes that decision now, because you're the employer. You can decide what you do when you do it. So, will you maybe put more hours into this in the beginning than you would have at a 9-to-5 job? Oh, for sure. Can you involve your family? Quite possibly. Maybe you can't, though. Maybe it's the type of business where you can't involve your family necessarily much. So, but the benefit is you're growing this business to the point where eventually you're not needed. And that's the goal of any business, in my opinion, is to get it to the point where you're not needed. It kind of runs itself. And you step away from it, and it brings you profit every day. You invested time and money into a company, and now it returns. The same idea when you buy a stock. You're buying a company when you buy a stock. You're not running that company. You just want, a return on your investment. That's what you eventually want with a business you start to. You just want a return on your investment. And now that investment may be a lot of time, a lot of money, or most likely both. But you want a return on that investment. Eventually you want it to be a hands-off investment. Now, will you always keep tabs on it? Most likely. You can't completely step away from it. Most likely, maybe you can, but most likely you can't. So you got freedom, the ability the sky's the limit, involve your family, and what's the last one? The last one I would say is the ability to grow wealth. And let's face it, 9-to-5 job, it's going to be really hard to grow wealth. And I don't mean just grow rich so you can buy a fancy car, and fancy house. I mean to grow life-changing wealth, not just for you, but for the next generation, and that's just not really possible with most 9-to-5 jobs. I mean, it's very hard. Can you grow $1 million? Sure, definitely. Yeah, you can. 9-to-5 job, if you save right, follow the Dave Ramsey plan, you can grow $1 million. Can you grow, even more than that? It's hard. To grow life-changing wealth in a 9-to-5 job, it's hard. Because generally, when you're paid a lot in a 9-to-5 job, it's in an area where it costs a lot to live. And the world just encourages you to spend that money quicker than you make it. That's just the way it is. Now, do you have to do that? No. That's kind of what this whole channel is about. Even if you do just stay in your 9-to-5 job, you don't have to follow that lifestyle. But a lot of people do, sadly. They spend it as they make it. And eventually, they can't make it anymore, and so things become tight. And but with with being self-employed, that does give you the ability to grow substantial life-changing wealth. Does it happen all the time? No. Can it happen all the time? I would go on a limb and say yes, but you're gonna have to hustle. You're gonna have to not throw in the towel. You're gonna have to think outside of the box a lot. You're gonna have to never give up. You're gonna have to involve your whole family. If you have a family. If you're single, well, that gives you all the free time. You run your schedule 100% if you're single. So, in many ways, I'd say that would be easier. But if you have a family, you got to involve your whole family. This can't be just you, or it can't be just a one person in the family experience. I think you have to involve your whole family. Why wouldn't you? You're the boss. Involve your whole family. Whatever that family may be. Maybe it's whatever the situation. Involve your whole family. But yeah, I think it's always possible. Now, back at hand. Back to the question at hand. Now, we kind of went through the benefits of switching over to being self-employed. Let's talk about when you should do it or shouldn't do it. This is going to vary for every person. It's kind of a personal question, because some people can switch over tomorrow. They have ideas in their head. They know what they want to accomplish. They may not know exactly how they're going to get there, but they have a plan. I think the key is you have to have a plan. If you're going to switch, you have to have a plan. How are you going to accomplish this? Now, everything may not go according to this plan. Believe me. Let me rephrase that. Everything will not go according to this plan, but nonetheless, you have to have a plan. Hopefully, it goes better than you planned. But most likely, it won't always go better than you planned. Most likely, a lot of the times, things aren't going to go according to your plan. Nonetheless, you have to have a plan and an overall idea of how you're going to accomplish, creating wealth through being self-employed. So until you have that plan, an idea, I would say you need to keep your day job and continue doing these side hustles and planning, putting together a plan. I would have a 2, a 5, and a 10-year goal / plan before I quit my day job. Also, you have to have reserves. Some people can say, well, we'll just wing it. You can. Don't get me wrong. It's been done. Quitting cold turkey is kind of like quitting smoking cold turkey. It's been done, but usually, there's a plan. Usually, there's a backup plan. And then usually there's a backup plan to the backup plan. Also, it's good to have cash reserves. You don't want to worry about how you're putting food on the table while you're trying to get this business off the ground. Because in my opinion, you're going to struggle a lot. So you need to have cash reserves. how much that cash reserve should be, I would say, in my opinion, you need to be able to live off this cash reserve in a worst case scenario. Now, don't get me wrong, hopefully it's not that worst case scenario, but I would say for me, it'd be 3 to 4 years of cash reserve to live off of before you quit your day job. Maybe you live in your parents' basement and you're, 3 to 4 years for you might only be $5,000. You don't have a lot of expenses, and that's awesome. That makes it a lot easier for you to quit that day job and go out and accomplish this feat. So, like I said, so that's why this is going to be very personal. This is going to vary according to everybody's circumstances. Not everybody has the same circumstances. No two circumstances are alike. So, but that's what I would say on the financial. Also, you got to make sure everybody's on board. If you have a family. Now, if you're single, you don't have that. You can skip this step. But if you have a family, everybody's got to kind of be on board. Now, when I say that, I mean everybody that matters. I don't think necessarily your in-laws matter. I don't necessarily think, that friend who's always talking down and thinking, you can't do that. Those don't matter. These aren't the people that matter. The people that matter are going to be mostly your spouse. Maybe if you live at home, your family, because they're going to be part of this. And I say that carefully because, don't let them necessarily say you can't do this, but you got to think about it. You got to think this through, make some plans, maybe they don't want you doing this if you're going to stay living at home. Well, maybe that means you got to move out, You got to think all this through before you go through with it. Also, another thing is you got to not let naysayers say you can't do it either. This comes to another, we could talk a lot about this too. The people you surround yourself with should be the encouraging type, the people that have done it themselves, the people that have accomplished a lot in this area, or in a lot of areas, but especially, who are businessmen, successful business people. You want to surround yourself, if you're going to do this, you want to surround yourself with successful businessmen and ladies. Don't surround yourself with a bunch of, I don't want to say failures, but you want to surround yourself with the people that have accomplished this in life. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Did I miss something? Did I add something that you wouldn't have added? Is this completely wrong? Am I completely wrong? Let me know down in the comments below. Throw me a thumbs up and a comment if you could, and subscribe, which you probably already have if you made it this far. I know. I will see you guys in the next video. Remember, only you can make your financial dreams come true. Don't delay. Get started today. Be safe. God bless. Bye. Calling, I'm falling for her. She seems to have the easiest touches. Now I know she has the built-in ability